Big thanks to Napoleon Grills for sponsoring this episode.
Let's make steak and eggs. It's a very common thing to make for a late breakfast or a brunch or even lunch. However, making good steak and eggs comes with a few tips and tricks that you need to know before you can make it perfect. It all starts with a good steak, and I selected this beautiful ribeye. Great amount of intermuscular fat, nice fat ring in the middle, and that's gonna make for a tasty, delicious steak that's gonna be juicy on the inside, crispy on the outside. But before we start there, we also need some ingredients. If you're gonna use this as a breakfast or like a whole dish, you're gonna need some side dishes. That's what we're gonna start with. Of course, I gotta have some potato cubes. These are frozen potato cubes, to which I'm gonna add some olive oil and a little bit of PitmasterX barbecue rub. You can find the recipe for that on PitmasterX.com. And free means you have to buy your own ingredients, but you can find it for free on the website, and that's way cheaper than buying it in a store. There's some people that put this in their deep fryer or in their oven or air fryer, but I put this in my barbecue because I got this, a basket, a rotisserie basket. Just load it up, close it, and then put it on the barbecue. Dude. Those are for you. These are me? Yes. Yeah, see, I pay you in food. Whoop. All I need to do is just plug in the rotisserie, set the rotisserie basket with the skewer. Then I'm gonna light up the back burner. And that infrared heat is gonna make my potato cubes super sweet and crispy. All I need to do now is just turn on the rotisserie, let the basket rotate, and the rest is like magic. It happens all by itself. So we can do the rest of the breakfast. Next step is to slide in a griddle plate, which I'm going to use to bake some tomatoes and mushrooms on. So therefore, I'm gonna turn on both of the burners that sits below the griddle plate, which is going to give me a direct heat in this area and an indirect heat in this area. Now I'm going to close the lid and let that come up to a temperature, because if you're going to sear things on a griddle plate, you need a little bit of heat on that plate. The griddle plate is now hot, and how can you tell? You can tell by the smoke that's coming off that griddle plate. That means it is at smoke point, which means it's extremely hot. Is that a problem? Are we going too far? No, we're not, because when we're going to put the food on, we're going to take some of that energy out, and the temperature in the griddle plate is going to lower. First, I'm going to drizzle on a little bit of olive oil, followed by a lump of butter. Make sure a little bit of that fat hits every part of that griddle plate. I'm going to put in these beautiful tomatoes, still on the stalk, and let them turn soft. I want a nice crust on the bottom of those tomatoes, and I'm talking about almost all the way black. The juices are going to run out, it's going to caramelize onto the plate, and it's going to be super tasty when they're done. Next step is to put on some mushrooms, and that's kind of my cheat code. Tiny mushrooms are so tiny that I don't need to cut them, and that saves me a lot of work. These are going to soak up all of that fat, and it's going to make them turn absolutely delicious. And notice how I place them under the sweet potatoes. So some of that seasoning that I put on the sweet potatoes are going to drop down onto the mushrooms, and that's going to give them extra flavor. Time to flip the mushrooms. Oh yeah. Look at that mushroom, turning beautifully brown, soaking up all that color from the griddle and flavor. That's going to be so good. The mushrooms are done. They got a beautiful brown color on all sides, crispened up nicely. So it's time to take them off the grill, because we don't want to lose any more moisture. Tomatoes are starting to turn soft. Let's take a quick look at them. See what that bottom looks like. Oh, look at that. Absolutely delicious. Of course, these need a little bit of rest, because if you would bite in that tomato straight away, whoa, your mouth would burn. So in the meantime, while these are resting, we're going to focus on cooking our beautiful ribeye steak. And now I'm going to place it over indirect heat to get it up to temperature. I'm looking for 52 degrees Celsius core temperature before I start searing this off. Now to do it right, I'm going to use a thermometer to keep my eye on the temperature. There we go, over the indirect side of the grill. Let it come up to temperature. The sweet potatoes are done. I'm going to open up the basket and take them out. With the rotisserie basket removed, it's time to turn off the back burner and solely enjoy the heat that comes from underneath that grill. And again, the plate is super hot. It is cleaned. And how do you know that it is clean enough for your egg? And why do you want it so clean for your egg? Well, let's start with, take a paper towel, rub on it. Look at that. almost no dirt that comes off this griddle. You want it to look tasty, but if you have residues from the cookings of the tomatoes and the mushrooms, then you're going to have a weird looking egg. And of course, we like it white with the sunny side up. Let's put a little bit of oil on. And as for the eggs, I selected some quail eggs. Look at these tiny eggs. Of course, these eggs are super delicate. And you got to be real careful because that egg white and that egg yolk is just gonna pop. As you can see, not all of them are gonna make it, but since I want my sunny side up, I gotta put in the effort and I'm gonna make a few extra. Can't forget about seasoning the eggs, so a little bit of salt. I'm going to take my steak off the grill because it reached the core temperature of 52 degrees Celsius. I'm gonna let this rest. In the meantime, I'm going to turn on my side burner, the sizzle zone. First, I'm gonna load it up with gas, wait 5 seconds, and then hit ignition. But look at this crazy hot grill grate. Now, of course, that's gonna work fine if I put the steak on because in the end, it's gonna release that steak, but first of all, it's gonna stick to it. I got a little trick to prevent that sticking. I'm gonna take a paper towel, put a little bit of olive oil on, and then that olive oil is going to go onto the grill grates. Now I can put my steak on and instantly I'm getting a good sear. You can hear the sizzle. Barbecue is doing its job. Let's take a look at, we get some sear marks. Yes, beautiful sear marks. 45-degree rotation. In the meantime, the fat is going to render down on the outside of the steak. And I'm touching the steak to make sure it has full contact and we get the beautiful sear marks without interruption. Time to flip. Again, do the rotation when you got the sear marks. Now I got the grill marks on both sides. The steak is done and we're going to plate up a beautiful steak and eggs. Dinner recipe, breakfast.
It's whatever you want.
Yes, you can eat this whenever you want, just when you get hungry. And for presentation, normally I would cut this into slices to show you guys, but look at the sear marks, look at how good it looks. And now I'm gonna find the most good looking egg that I have and I'm gonna put it on top. Of course, I'm gonna put some of those roasted tomatoes on, caramelized with loads and loads of flavor. Of course, we wanna see that twig. And then the mushrooms come in and then finish off with those sweet potatoes. A little bit more salt and pepper. And the ground with the pepper mill. And there we have it, a beautiful plate. Look at this. Steak and eggs. That's how you do it. My favorite moment, the moment where we take a look at that cuisson, the signature. Yeah, I can clearly see this is, oh, water's already running into my mouth, making it hard to talk. I don't want to talk anymore. I don't want to talk to anyone. Just take a look at this last pop where I put the steak in the egg yolk. Oh yeah, I knew you were there to witness that.